Hi friends, I'm Liz.
I'm Robbie. Welcome back to our channel Bookworm Couple. Today we are going to be doing another wrap-up and TBR video. August is out, September is coming in.
Wow.
We are very excited for the fall over here. We are big fall fans.
Behind you, us just a little
That's
bit.
what I'm saying.
Huzzah, fall!
Fall, yeah, we're really excited for the fall.
We love fall.
So this month was a bit of a slow month for us. We did say that in our last wrap-up video. We spent about 2 weeks not reading at all, at least in my case. But we did eventually get back into it, I think. So we only released 2 videos this month. The first one was for ACOTAR Book 3, I believe.
ACOTAR.
A Court of Wings and Ruin. And this was an interesting read. I think this is my favorite book in the series so far, but it also had some pretty serious issues, in my opinion. I think I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The pacing is kind of all over the place, it feels like, yes, it's just extremely fast. So much happens in the book, and it leaves you as the reader wondering, where's the fire? Why is this happening? That was a very dated.
Where's the fire?
Where's the fire? But you know what I mean. I just didn't really understand why we were all in such a rush when we could have kind of slowed things down a little bit, and it still would have been a really fast-paced book. But gotten to linger on some moments that I didn't think got enough space to breathe.
And then I read The Path of Daggers by Robert Jordan, book 8.
Book 8.
In the Wheel of Time, which is just so funny because I feel like I'm almost done, and I'm not.
No, you're a little over halfway.
But
That's
I feel
exciting.
like I'm like, woohoo! I've really read so many of these books.
You have.
And this one was good. Similar critique that you had to ACOTAR with some pacing issues. Some parts of it really went so fast, and then so much of it was very slow and very detailed and crawled a bit, but I enjoyed it.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So those are the only videos that we released on the channel this month. Sorry about that, but I hope September will be more. Did you read anything on your own this month?
Yeah, I read quite a few books.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Do you want me to go through?
No, I just wanted you to ask, and then I thought we'd move on.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm done.
We are a mess today.
Well, duh. It makes sense. We haven't done one of these in a minute. And I also hate
a month, one might say.
1 month. What? Okay.
What did you read this month?
What did I read this month? The first book I read on my own. Do you want me to do all mine and then you do all of yours?
You mean like how we've done every month? Yes.
Well, I'm tired. Okay, I try to remember.
Yes.
Okay. So the first book I read on my own this month was Verity. What the heck is this book? I picked it up because I've heard a bunch of people talk about it, and then my aunt was like, have you read Verity? And I was like, oh, okay, Luann, if you're reading Verity, I gotta try it. It was one of the most interesting reading experiences I've ever had because I can't say that I liked it, but I read it in about 7 hours.
Whoa.
So it was a sitting.
Is this the like thriller one?
This is the thriller.
Oh, man,
I've never read a thriller.
This book seems wild.
It's messed up. I've never read a thriller ever. And I don't know that this is like a very intense thriller. This is definitely a psychological twisty-turny book, which I'm not much of a thriller. Well, I'm not much of like a scary person, especially like even when it comes to movies, but I do like a thriller if you're going to give me a kind of psychological story. So I guess that's probably what kept me reading this book. I will say it's also one of those books that there's so much happening, and the end of each chapter I'm like, I have to keep reading. And I think a good reason, similar to me with scary movies, I need to finish them because I need to know what happens because I need to be done. And I felt very much similarly about this book where I was like, I need to know what the end of this book is and what the end of the next chapter is, and next chapter, because I need to close it. I need it to be done. I need to like know that it has an ending. So this was interesting. I know this is a super popular one amongst people. Are you okay? This is crazy. You like this? Wow. But great. Good for you. I love it. I love that for you. I don't know that I would necessarily read many more thrillers, but my interest is piqued. So if you have any to recommend to me, this is spooky season. I can try it. Was a wild read. Spooky. And then I read a suggestion from one of you all, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. My goodness, say that 5 times fast. Why can't I say that? I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I loved it. I was not expecting to love it. To be fair, I knew little to nothing about this book beyond I had heard someone that I follow critique it, that they didn't really love it. And I'm so glad that I gave it a try. spoke to me so much. The story is absolutely stunning. So sad, but in a very relatable way. I would be intrigued to see if anyone who wasn't in the performing industry really loved it, because it's very much about being a woman in Hollywood in an era in which women in Hollywood were one thing and one thing only. And it was beautiful to read Evelyns Journey. It was very, very emotional. I related to a lot of it, and I just thought it was stunning. I'm at 5 stars. I want to buy my own copy so I can highlight the crap out of it because I loved it. So thank you for that suggestion. I don't know if Robbie will ever read it, but maybe we can get him to. Okay, and the last book that I read on my own was The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. This was a sexy, saucy, beautiful summer escape of a book, and I'm really glad I read it. It's the first I have read by these authors, because it is 2 authors that go by the name Christina Lauren. Cool. Very cool. Didn't know that till the end of the book when I read the acknowledgments. Yes. I love this book. I loved Anna, our main character. I loved her pink hair, confident vibes. I think the love interest was just, they had phenomenal chemistry on the page. Loved it. So sexy. Read this probably in 2 sittings. I devoured it. It was the perfect beach read, like a perfect summer romance. There was drama, there was intrigue, there was romance, there was sex. It was great. It was very spicy. It was the perfect beach read to kind of end out summer books. I loved it. Highly recommend. I now want to pick up more by this author, because these authors, I suppose, because I really liked it. It was a perfect, like, little vacation. It was a phenomenal getaway. It's set on a private island with a bunch of millionaires. Oh. So, if you ever want to put yourself in that situation, read this book. I thought it was lovely. It's a great escape.
That's great.
Robbie, what did you read this summer?
That's what you read. You read more books on your own than I did. I only got through 2, and I was honestly only expecting to do 1. I did also, full spoilers, actually read and finish House of Hades in the month of August, but that video is not coming out until next month, so I'll count that next month. But on my own this month, I read Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson, which is the 2nd book in the Mistborn Era 2 quartet. And I liked it again. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars, I think, as well. I'm still kind of enjoying the fact that it's so different than anything that I expected. This book, much more so than the first one, is like there's bigger stuff at play. There's a bigger game afoot, as it were. And the first one I really enjoyed, partially because Sanderson doesn't write a lot of like very standalone books. They're all kind of part of his bigger cosmere, which is the shared universe that many of his works are in. And it was nice to read one book where it's like, this is kind of smaller scale and like a little bit more fun. And this book, and except for at the very, very end, and then this 2nd book, it continues to expand that. And I do know that by the end of this quartet, that stuff starts getting very, very prevalent of, the wider universe, the wider cosmere, actually, as it were. But I really like this. Wax and Wayne continue to be great, and Marasi, I'm probably saying her name wrong, but I do like all 3 of the characters. I thought that Wax felt a little bit one note in this book. He was just seems like very aggressive, and but his character also went through a ton, and there's crazy twists and reveals at the end that I did feel at some points were a little bit convoluted, but I still very much enjoyed. I particularly liked Wayne in this book, though, because he's still playing the jester character, but we got to just see a little bit more behind him and see some of his struggles, and it humanized him a little bit, which made him a little bit more than a caricature. His humor has grown on me a little bit more, which is good, because he can't do like more than 3 serious words in a row. But so anyway, I really enjoyed the book. Very fast-paced, and I think one of the biggest strengths of this series in particular is how short the books are. The first 2, I think, were both below 400 pages, which is basically nothing for Sanderson, and it's great. Not even in like a bad way. Sanderson's books are very easy to read, but there are a lot of them are really, really long, and so getting to read something by Brandon Sanderson that only takes a day or 2 to read is really nice, in my opinion. So I appreciate that. Anyway, after that, I read Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, which is the first book in the Bloodsworn saga, which is a trilogy of Norse-inspired fantasy books.
You love Norse.
I do like Norse quite a bit. I like John Gwynne as well. I read basically, I think, every Faithful and the Fallen and of Blood and Bone, I think last year or maybe the year before. So I am a fan of John Gwynne. I think this might be my favorite book of his, though. This book is fantastic. I also know that John Gwynne, in his free time, is a Norse reenactor, like a Viking reenactor. And so you can tell how much reverence and love he has for this setting he's created and the myths that inspired it in the writing. You can tell that the joy that he is putting onto the page. And it's just, it comes across to the reader, and it makes it really hard to put the book down. There's three main POV characters. You have Orca, who is a woman with a mysterious past, who just wants to have a quiet life with her husband and her son. There is Varg, who is a thrall on a path of revenge.
Classic Varg.
And there is Elvar, who is a young woman who wants to earn her battle fame on her own terms and is currently in a mercenary group called the Battle Grim. And all of them start in very different places, and all of their storylines start to slowly converge over the course of this book. And John Gwynne is known for two main things, at least I think: writing very easy to read and exciting battle sequences, I think. I think one of his strengths is writing battle sequences that logically make sense, where I know that is a struggle for many other authors. You talk about that reading in Wheel of Time.
Like what?
Yeah, exactly.
Did I just black out?
And also relentless pacing, just you can't put it down. And I felt that in this book as well. There's some incredible action sequences, huge plot twists and reveals at the end. I will say, in some of his earlier works, like Faithful and the Fallen, the plotting the relentless pacing did seem almost too much at times. That is not the case in this book. It's not relentless pacing because it feels like so much is happening I can't really keep up. It's because I'm so invested in these characters that I didn't want to put the book down. I can only think of one or two chapters in the whole book, which was 400 or 500 pages long, that I didn't end a chapter being like, I really need to know what happens next, but I also know that he never does back-to-back chapters of the same character, so I'm not going to get it.
That's devastating.
So, yeah, I just had such a blast reading this. And if you have never heard of this, or if you've been thinking about picking it up, now is the time. The third book in the trilogy, the final book in the trilogy, is coming out, I think, mid or late October. So now is really the time to pick it up. I believe that there was a few-year break between the second and the third because I believe the author tragically lost one of his children. But it's wonderful to hear that he is back and finishing the series. And if the second book is anything like the first, possibly the best one he's written so far. So I'm really excited to continue on with it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So, and one more thing. I keep forgetting this, and most of this I actually read in July, but I finished it in August, so I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, get in there.
I read My Hero Academia, which is a manga that just completed. It's been running for a very long time.
Oh, and you just finished it? You just finished it?
I finished reading it. It was like the last chapter was published, I think, on August 5th.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I read it a bit. It was on the very long list of manga that I have that I started and liked years and years ago, and then decided I can't do weekly updates. I'm just going to wait until it ends.
Yeah.
And apparently next month that's going to be Jujutsu Kaisen, which is crazy, so I guess I'll be doing this again in September.
All right.
But it was great to read. I think it's been going on for 10 years, so anytime I read one of these that's been going on for this long, it's kind of a fun blast from the past and a lot of nostalgia because it just brings up a lot of memories from where I was 10 years ago or whenever it was that I first started reading this. I don't really have ratings for these. Shadow of the Gods, 5 out of 5 stars, by the way. One of my favorite reads of the year. But I don't really rate the manga. This was really fun. I thought that some arcs were much, much stronger than others, but I actually quite liked the ending, even though it was a little bit less I don't want to say happy. I don't know. It felt more, the ending actually felt a little bit more real, other than everyone has a perfectly happy ending than I thought. And it was a happy ending for the most part. But I don't want to say any spoilers or anything in case anyone wants to read it. But yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. And I always enjoy going back and reading manga, and I'm excited to, I guess, have an excuse to do it again next month too.
Huzzah!
So speaking of next month, we are our schedule is all off because of everything that happened this month.
Sorry, guys.
But we are hoping to next week finally get House of Hades out to you.
Finish it.
Then after that, we will be doing a Court of Frost and Starlight, I think? Yeah, which is the novella in ACOTAR. So I've just started that, so should have no problem getting that video up on time.
Like
and then
2 pages long.
Yeah, it's really short. And then I'm not sure. It really depends.
Yeah.
We're not going to do Wheel of Time because Liz just did Wheel of Time, and it takes a while to get through those books. Might do like an unboxing video or something, or just like a feature video for. You may have noticed we've started adding to our collection of books. So I should have all 3 of the Greenbone Saga books by the end of this month, so I may do a video just showing off all the art and how beautiful these editions are. They are gorgeous. Yeah. But who knows? We'll see.
Who knows? We'll put out some videos.
Yeah. Are there any books that you are going to be reading on your own this month that you're very excited about?
So here's the thing that I've noticed about myself. I play this game, unbeknownst to me that it's a game. I think of all of the books that I want to read, and then I request them at my library, and most of the time they're not available right away, and so then randomly they'll like all come into my like Libby app or like at my library at once. So I have quite a few of those that are there. I'm not sure how many I will be able to read because they're due all around the same time. So It's going to be a big mystery. One that I am going to read that I was going to try and read this month but didn't have a chance is The Honey Witch. It was suggested on my TikTok and it ended up being available at my library. I haven't had the chance to get to that yet, but I feel like that's the perfect like touch of fall to get us into fall. And then I have one more. Let's see, what's on my Libby app right now? What did I download? Because it's this fun, it's like kind of like Kindle Roulette, library roulette. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and then Magnolia Parks as well, which I've heard like great things about, but also very interesting things about that I've heard it's like a very toxic situation, but people are obsessed with these books.
Really?
It's British, I think. I've heard like British Gossip Girl, which like phenomenal.
Interesting, okay.
And then one last one is A Soul of Blood and Ash, which is the book from Castile's perspective in the Blood and Ash series. It's like, from what I've heard, it kind of goes back to the first book where he met Poppy because she is in a state of stasis in this book, so he kind of like relives the first book.
So many words that I have no idea what you're talking about.
And that's fair because I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Great.
It's hard to, it's like kind of a prequel, but also kind of not a prequel to the Blood and Ash series. It's really just more through a different perspective. So I'll be intrigued to read that because I love Blood and Ash and have actually been thinking of doing a reread. So also we'll see if I get through all of these because they're due in 8 for 12 days. So we will see.
Okay.
But then we're just going to keep playing the library roulette game and see what comes into my Kindle.
Very fun.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I'm going to continue the Bloodsworn Saga for sure. I'm going to try and hold off on devouring that second book right away so I can kind of pace myself so I don't have so much time between reading the second one and when the third one comes out next month. Definitely going to continue the Mistborn Era 2 quartet. I think the next book is Bands of Mourning, so I will be reading that for sure. And then I don't entirely know. I had been reading, if you've been watching these videos, I had been reading the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy by Tad Williams, and I read the first 2 books. I actually started the third, to Green Angel Tower. However, it was announced that the Broken Binding is going to, which is a special edition book subscription
conglomerate.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Company that does like special editions of books. They have a subscription service. They do not sponsor us, but I subscribe, and that's where I got these beautiful editions of Greenbone Saga. And the next thing they're doing after Greenbone Saga is going to be Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn.
How perfect
and
for you.
So I kind of thought it would be fun to just wait a few months till I get
read the physical book.
Yeah, to read the physical copy of To Green Angel Tower. So I probably won't be picking that up again until that comes, which will be December or January, which is a little while, but I'm not in a rush. No. Those books aren't going anywhere, so I'm excited to be able to read a nice, beautiful copy from the Broken Binding of that. Yeah. But so I'm not sure what I'm going to read after I've read the next book in Bloodsworn and the next Mistborn book.
September's such a mystery for
September's
us.
a bit of a mystery. Apparently, Jujutsu Kaisen is ending at the end of the month, which seems weird because it feels like I don't know. I haven't read it in a while, but from what I hear, it seems like it's not really ready to wrap up, but who knows?
We shall
so
see.
I will probably be reading a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen just to prepare for the ending so I can read the whole thing. And otherwise, I've finished everything that's been published in Dungeon Crawler Carl. And so I need to find a new lit RPG series or something along those lines to fill that gap. So I am currently trying to figure out what I am going to do for that. So hopefully I will have found something by the end of the month. And then otherwise, I don't know. If there's any extra time, I'll have to start another series.
We'll see.
We'll see.
It'll be fun. It's fall, officially. We've made it. We've decided it's fall.
September 22nd, I believe, is the technical date, but September 1st for us. Anyway, that's really everything
and next
from
month
us.
is our 1 year bookstuversary.
Oh yeah, October is our 1 year anniversary of doing this channel. So we'll do some kind of fun video for that.
We'll be prepping a little bit this month, I think.
Yeah, it'll be fun. But anyway, that's really everything from us, I think. So thanks for sticking around and watching. Happy September. Let us know in the comments down below if you read anything this month that you really, really loved. Liz finally read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Did.
So that's really exciting.
And
Maybe I will read it one day when I get some space in my TBR. I'm sure I would love it. It also looks pretty short. So.
Yeah, it's not a long read, and I think people who are artists specifically coming from the performing arts, I think it's a very relatable situation.
But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, and
we'll see you on our next adventure.